when you are filming a video and you're on the street in Brooklyn and you got 20 dudes with you that are all wearing red rags, that's a big old statement. And you can't understate how important that is in hip hop. People are basically watching like gang porn. A lot of people who watch rap videos.
Bro, that's it, bro. It's gang porn. Oh, look at them in the streets with their shirts off and bandanas.
They want to see that 100%.
Tattoos and shit. They're addicted to nonsense, bro.
I feel like this as a rapper, and most rappers, right? And this just goes to up and coming artists. And I told one of my fans this recently. He was like, yo, check out my music. And I just had to tell him the truth. I was like, yo, are you making music because you think this cool, or are you thinking about the impact that it's gonna have on your following when it does blow up? And I think a lot of rappers don't think like that. A lot of rappers don't think what impact is the music gonna have on the next generation. And, you know, rappers are like, we don't have no more leaders. We don't have no more Malcolm X's. We don't have no more Martin Luther Kings. We don't have no more, Huey P's. We don't have no more of that. We got rappers now. Rappers and basketball players and celebrities and shit like that. So those are people who are leading the youth from our perspective.
Local government will allow for the most consensus and will allow us to prevent coercion that occurs when large, centralized states have power over sprawling populations. Aside from abolishing the police, prisons will also be abolished. Rather than ship deposed class enemies off to inhumane gulags or otherwise seek out revenge, they should be placed in reform centers where they are able to live in comfort and benefit from counseling and education. No need for money, teaching them about the benefits of our new society. Some may never be willing to give up their abuses, and these die-hard oppressors would need to be secluded, perhaps indefinitely. But how would individuals and communes be able to self-organize? Well, the same way corporations do it today, by contract. No need for money. At the individual level, as soon as someone joins a commune, the first thing they'll do is put together a contract with their commune. This contract will stipulate what the commune agrees to provide to the new member, food, clothing, shelter, and so on, and will outline the responsibilities the new commune member agrees to take on for the commune. The individual will agree to contribute to the commune by performing vital labor that is required to keep society functioning. Say there's a small town consisting of about 10 communes, roughly 100,000 people. Let's call it Breadtown. The communes of Breadtown could work out a cooperative contract to build and maintain a bus system, for example. Each commune would provide certain resources or personnel in exchange for enjoying access to the bus lines. Note that using this system, there's simply no need for money. Money would be totally obsolete in a contract-based anarchist economy. The same way corporations do it today, by contract. No need for money, by contract. Coercion, by contract. No need for money. Council members will be chosen at random, say every 3 months or so. Aside from abolishing the police, prisons will also be abolished the same way corporations do it today. Prison, perhaps indefinitely. No need for money. The individual will agree to contribute to the commune by performing vital labor placed in reform centers, teaching them about the benefits of our new society. Coercion, no need for money.
But I'm gonna go left field, and I'm actually gonna get crucified for this, but this is gonna go viral. You ready to go viral? I would have snitched too.
Really?
Yep, I seen T-Pain say I would have snitched too. I'm gonna tell you why I would have snitched.
Why is that? Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm tired of. I'm tired of gangbangers.
Why is that?
I'm just tired of gangbangers. I'm tired of all these fake hood niggas. I'm tired of all these fake real niggas, street niggas. I'm just tired of it. I'm gonna tell you why I'm tired of it. Everybody's super real until it's time to really be real. How do we got so many killers and real goons, but we don't have real goons and real killers? You get what I'm saying?
Let's change the agenda, bro. Let's put a message out there that really matters.
Get all these fake niggas off the street. I'll snitch on everybody. Fuck it. Get off the street, my nigga.
But so do you respect someone who says says
This is a video about political philosophy. So you're gonna have to excuse me if I get just slightly philosophical about it. If you believe in a given destination in politics, I dare not say a utopia, but if there's some objective, if there's some outcome you want to achieve, I'd invite you to challenge yourself. Are you really comfortable with the steps along the way that lead to that destination? Are you comfortable with the incremental and imperfect changes that would be necessary between now and then? Or do you just believe in the ideal in an abstract and isolated way? And do you maybe feel uncomfortable when you start to look at the process that would lead to that ideal? If so, there's something for you to examine there. there's some kind of contradiction within yourself that you still need to learn from. When you talk to right-wing anarchists, when you talk to anarcho-capitalists, for example, they believe in a kind of utopian ideal, a destination. And they feel no sense of contradiction in then agreeing to the truly horrible series of steps that are necessary on the way to that destination. So when you talk to anarcho-capitalists, right-wing anarchists, they won't hesitate to say that they would be happy to see medical care abolished. Like any government involvement with providing free medical care for the poor, free prescription drugs to the poor, they're happy to get rid of that. Even though, of course, it'll make our society more unequal. It'll make life worse for the poor, especially. It makes life worse for the rich, too, when you really think about it. But they believe in this principle of wanting to have small government or no government at all. So each of the incremental things they can do, shrinking and abolishing government along the way, they're happy with that. And of course, this leads to innumerable absurdities, but we can say at least they're consistent. When you talk to anarcho-capitalists and you say, hey, look, man, are you really happy to live in a society where there is no sewage system because you abolished the government role in providing sewage and the government role in coercing people into obeying the laws concerning sewage to make the whole sewage system work? Yes, y'all, this all involves authoritarianism and coercion. Otherwise, people get cholera, and they don't have clean running water coming out of their taps, and dirty water all go into the same sewage treatment plant, and taxes collected to pay for the treatment. The beauty of top-down, unequal, not anarchist government. Those guys, the right-wing anarchists, the anarcho-capitalists and so on, they will without hesitation say yes, they would prefer to live in a country or in a situation where individuals just have to cope with their own sewage somehow, even if I guess that's going to mean a lot of people going around with wheelbarrows full of sewage and this kind of thing. They approve on each of those steps along the way, no matter how absurd, because they believe in that consistently leading up to that destination. Now, in most of those discussions, I don't even feel the need to refute the other side. I just feel that if the conversation illustrates what their position is, almost nobody is going to support their political movement, and therefore their political movement ceases to be dangerous. The left-wing anarchists, the anarcho-communists, are much more dangerous, and they're much more self-contradictory. What they present you with, again and again, is the illusion of a highly organized, highly centralized socialist society with incredibly generous benefits for the poor, with every possible social service. The people they refuse to call the police do all the work the police do and more. They have unlimited patience and care and love and tenderness to take care of drug addicts, and yet absolutely no use of coercion or violence against drug addicts. It's just this, infinite budget, infinitely caring, infinitely patient, centralized communist state, but they don't call it a communist centralized state. They try to convince themselves that it's not communist at all, because it's anarcho-communism, and that it's not a state at all, that it's not a government at all, simply through the changing of names. They say, oh, no, that's not a government, that's a people's council. Oh no, these aren't police officers, they're just the representatives of the people's council and this kind of thing. It's really that stupid. But moreover, if you can sit down with one of those people and talk to them one-on-one, they will never be able to accept the sequence of steps leading to the destination that the right-wingers, that the anarcho-capitalists are willing to accept. If you confront them with these same things, look, if you genuinely believe that government authority is a bad thing, then you must believe that the government providing health care to the poor is a bad thing. You must believe that the government providing education to the poor is a bad thing. Think about what will happen if you abolish the role of government in education. All right? Yes, there's a critique of government education. There's good and bad to be said about it. But think about the unbelievable disadvantage you're putting all people in society at when you remove the role of government, not just in providing access to education for the poor, but in providing equal, unbiased, non-racist education, non-religious education, education that isn't run by the Catholic Church or by a Muslim organization. This is a huge fundamental role in shaping our society. And if you, as a so-called left-wing anarchist, if you as an anarcho-communist are against that, you must be in favor of abolishing that system. You can't just promise me that in your eventual utopia, somehow the goodness of human nature is going to provide a decentralized alternative that's way better. If you're not really at peace with the series of steps leading to that destination, you need to really re-examine your ideological belief in the destination. I think that the most sincere and most authentic anarchists are the anarcho-primitivists. The anarcho-primitivists take the position that authority in society is bad, and that they would therefore prefer to revert to like Bronze Age conditions, like just barbarism, just people living out of caves, basically no technology whatsoever. Some of them even want to get rid of farming. They think you should go back all the way to the Stone Age, just hunting and gathering, because as soon as you get into large-scale farming, even with no technology, even with just stone tools, then you start having centralized authority, you start having little nations and tribes and what have you. No. So their ideal society is just small, basically isolated families living in caves and huts scattered around the surface of planet Earth. So this is setting back the clock tens of thousands of years. So those guys are logically consistent. They want that destination. So if you ask them, hey, do you want to get rid of the sewage system? Do you want to get rid of education? Do you want to get rid of the role of government coercion in preventing racism and prejudice? They want to get rid of all of it. And they are willing to accept the consequence that they'll return to having a society where people die of cholera, where there's no clean running water, there's no way to take a shower, where we go back to a state of nature red in tooth and fang. It's logically consistent, but again, there's almost no need to debate it or refute it, because if you just let them explain that ideology in its own terms, incredibly few people will ever support it. Voices here on YouTube, like NonCompete, they are dangerous. They are going to ruin people's lives. As much as I can say, and remember, this channel, I've criticized a wide range of ideologies here, okay? In as much as any political ideology is going to ruin people's lives in the next 20 years, the ideology NonCompete is presenting is going to ruin people's lives. But worse than that, it's going to train people to live in a constant state of dishonesty with themselves and others. The contradictions within that ideology are obvious to an outsider, but the people within the ideology are oblivious to the contradictions. The purpose of an ideology is not to be perfect. It's to provide people with a clear sense of the destination they're working towards and what type of means they will and will not employ. But in the case of left-wing anarchism, in the case of anarcho-communism, all three are bad. The destination, the means, and worst of all, the kind of excuses and self-deception people have to make with themselves in order to believe that there's any consistency between the socialist utopia they believe in and the abolition of the government itself as a means to that end.